I really tried my best, please watch the video until the end.
The cold wind blows across the dark, ruined city streets. Heavy armored soldiers march through the broken valley. These blind fools actually think numbers will save them. I stand alone on the high, crumbling concrete watchtower. Their massive energy weapons glow with a dull red heat. System alert photon. Erasure protocol is now fully active. My body absorbs the ambient light from the environment. The surrounding air drops several degrees in a second. Power flows through my veins like cold, liquid nitrogen. I manipulate the elementary particles with pure thought. The enemy commander points his heavy rifle at my shadow. A loud energy blast shatters the wall right behind me. Dust falls over my shoulders as I remain perfectly still. They waste their ammunition on a simple visual illusion. My real physical body stands 50 meters to the right. I bend the light waves to create these fake projections. The holographic decoy absorbs another heavy kinetic hit. System alert illusion matrix maintains perfect stability. I watch them waste their energy reserves on empty air. The entire battalion moves closer to the central square. Heavy metallic boots crush the broken glass on the road. I calculate the exact distance between their front lines. It is time to show them the true meaning of pure terror. I pull all the existing photons out of the current zone. The bright afternoon sun suddenly vanishes from the sky. A massive dome of absolute darkness swallows the army. This is not just a simple shadow or a basic smokescreen. I have created a zone of total sensory deprivation here. System alert true darkness domain successfully deployed. The soldiers immediately stop their aggressive advance. They cannot see their own hands waving in front of them. The soldiers begin to push each other in the pitch blackness. I hear their heavy breathing echoing in the silent void. Several men fire their weapons blindly into the shadows. The bright muzzle flashes fail to pierce the heavy gloom. My domain absorbs every single spark of kinetic energy. They are trapped inside a perfect vacuum of visual data. I walk slowly among them without making a single sound. A terrified soldier swings his rifle right past my face. He hits his own comrade with a brutal mechanical strike. The heavy armor cracks under the massive kinetic impact. They will destroy themselves if I just wait long enough. But I need to send a clear message to their dark masters. I raise my right hand and focus my energy into one spot. A single photon condenses right above my index finger. System alert energy concentration reaching critical mass. The tiny spark looks exactly like a small glowing insect, a solitary firefly floating in the deep, endless black sea. The enemy commander notices the tiny light in the gloom. He points his trembling armored finger at the small glow. His men turn their heavy helmets toward the single spark. They think this little light might be their only way out. Their heavy helmets track the slow movement of the tiny spark. I compress the light particles until they begin to vibrate. The tiny firefly pulses with a terrifying hidden power. Heat radiates from the spark and melts the falling snow. System alert miniature supernova sequence is initiating. I release the compressed energy with a single cold thought. The tiny insect explodes into a massive blinding white sun. A silent wave of pure light expands across the battlefield. The pure brightness erases the darkness in a microsecond. This is not a normal fire or a standard kinetic explosion. The concentrated photons act like a supreme laser blade. The expanding ring of light slices through the heavy tanks. Thick metallic armor parts separate with absolute silence. The soldiers do not even have time to register the impact. The light wave passes through their bodies without a sound. I watch the destructive energy travel for a full kilometer. Everything within the radius simply stops moving at once. The blinding flash fades back into the normal daylight. System alert threat elimination confirmed across the zone. A heavy silence falls over the entire ruined city sector. The upper half of a massive tank slowly slides to the side. It hits the concrete ground with a deafening metallic thud. The cut surface of the thick metal is perfectly smooth. It looks exactly like a mirror reflecting the bright sky. The enemy soldiers collapse onto the dusty, broken street. Their heavy combat suits are sliced with perfect precision. No messy destruction mars the beauty of this silent strike. The kinetic shockwave finally catches up to the explosion. A massive gust of wind blows the loose dust into the air. I lower my hand and feel the residual heat on my fingers. The absolute power of the photon domain is truly unmatched. These weak fools tried to fight a god of elementary forces. I step over a perfectly sliced piece of thick combat armor. The smooth metal surface reflects my cold, empty expression. System alert energy reserves are regenerating at fast pace. I walk toward the central command bunker in the distance. The remaining enemy forces are hiding behind thick walls. They probably monitor the situation through their cameras. I want them to see exactly what happened to their vanguard. This visual demonstration will completely break their morale. I gather the ambient light to form a new solid projection. A massive glowing phantom appears right above the ruins. The hologram mimics my every movement with exact precision. The remaining survivors rush to lock the heavy steel-based doors. Thick steel barricades slide into place with a loud crash. They think a few layers of metal will stop the pure light. I place my hand flat against the heavy main bunker door. The cold steel feels rough under my protective combat glove. System alert photon drill sequence is ready for deployment. I focus a tight beam of pure energy through my right palm. The thick metallic door instantly glows with an intense heat. Liquid steel drips onto the floor like melting yellow wax. I kick the weakened structure with a massive kinetic strike. The heavy door flies inward and crashes against the far wall. Dust and smoke fill the dark corridor of the hidden bunker. I step inside and let the darkness swallow my entire body. The emergency red lights flicker across the ceiling panels. I absorb these weak red photons to increase my own power. The corridor plunges into the familiar state of true black. Armed guards wait at the end of the hall with heavy rifles. They use thermal goggles to scan the pitch-black environment. But my body does not emit any standard thermal signatures now. I bend the heat waves around me to remain totally invisible. System alert. Thermal camouflage is operating at peak levels. I walk right past the trembling guards without touching them. Their heavy breathing sounds incredibly loud in the silence. I leave a small glowing spark floating right between them. The tiny firefly hovers gently in the middle of the hallway. I reach the main control room at the end of the dark path. The base commander stares at the main security monitor screen. He watches the tiny spark floating between his elite guards. A drop of cold sweat rolls down his rigid mechanical jaw. He knows exactly what that little insect of light represents. I snap my fingers and trigger the second miniature supernova. The silent flash of light illuminates the entire underground. The heavy concrete walls are sliced into perfectly neat blocks. The elite guards collapse silently onto the smooth, cold floor. Their weapons fall apart in perfectly even metallic halves. The base commander drops to his knees on the hard steel floor. He drops his communication device onto the hard metal desk. System alert final target has been completely neutralized. I step out of the shadows and let the room lights turn back on. The bright fluorescent tubes hum softly above our heavy heads. I look down at the defeated man with a cold, pragmatic stare. He does not even try to reach for his heavy sidearm weapon. His hands shake violently as he stares at the ruined concrete. I turn around and walk slowly back toward the ruined surface. The light bends around me to form a perfect protective shield. My path is clear, and my mission in this sector is finished. The true Lord of Photons leaves nothing but smooth perfection. The external environment remains quiet under the bright sun. I scan the distant horizon for any new approaching threats. My advanced optical senses cover a radius of 50 miles. System alert regional threat level has dropped to absolute 0. I adjust the light refraction to bend around my physical form. My body slowly fades out of the visible light spectrum again. The invisible state gives me a perfect tactical advantage here. I walk silently across the ruined concrete of the dead city. A massive shadow suddenly covers the entire destroyed district. I look up at the dark sky through my advanced optical filters. A giant flying dreadnought slowly descends from the thick clouds. The heavy engines emit a deep, low-frequency mechanical rumble. System alert massive aerial threat detected in the current zone. They actually sent a flying fortress to deal with one single man. These pathetic commanders never learn from their previous mistakes. The huge ship fires a barrage of heavy kinetic tracking missiles. I do not even bother to dodge the incoming explosive projectiles. I simply manipulate the light waves around my current position. The heavy missiles pass right through my fake visual projection. They hit the empty concrete ground with a massive deafening crash. Thick clouds of gray dust rise into the cold afternoon air. System alert illusion matrix energy consumption remains optimal. The Dreadnought sensors try to locate my real physical body. They scan the dust cloud with advanced thermal imaging cameras. But my thermal signature is completely erased from this reality. I absorb all the heat and light radiating from the recent blasts. My power levels rise with every absorbed kinetic energy particle. It is time to bring this floating piece of metal to the ground. I focus my mind and gather photons from the surrounding area. The entire city block plunges into a state of absolute darkness. System alert. True darkness domain expanding to vertical limits. The massive flying ship is suddenly swallowed by the black void. Their bright searchlights fail to pierce the heavy dark gloom. The confused pilots activate their emergency navigation thrusters. I hear the panic in the sudden chaotic roar of the heavy engines. They are flying completely blind inside my perfect light vacuum. I raise both of my hands toward the invisible metal giant above. Millions of captured photons condense between my armored palms. I compress the light until it becomes a solid physical object. A massive glowing spear of pure energy forms in the dark air. System alert high-density photon weapon successfully generated. The spear radiates a terrifying amount of pure destructive heat. I throw the glowing weapon straight up into the pitch-black sky. The light spear travels upward at an impossible blinding speed. It strikes the heavy bottom armor of the massive flying fortress. The concentrated energy melts through the thick steel instantly. A silent flash of pure white light illuminates the dark clouds. The huge Dreadnought splits into two perfectly equal steel halves. The cut surface is as smooth as a polished mirror in the dark. System alert primary aerial target has been completely destroyed. The two massive pieces of the ship fall toward the ruined city. They crash into the abandoned buildings with a deafening roar. A massive shockwave of displaced air hits my invisible barrier. The kinetic force simply bends around my protective light shield. I stand perfectly still amidst the falling concrete and metal. The absolute destruction around me looks like a silent painting. I release the darkness domain and let the natural sun return. The bright daylight reveals the massive scale of the devastation. Thick black smoke rises from the perfectly sliced heavy engines. I walk directly toward the glowing core of the dead Dreadnought. The huge power reactor is still humming with raw, unstable energy. This is the perfect source to refill my internal power reserves. I place both hands on the thick glass of the glowing core shell. System alert. Huge external energy source detected for absorption. I command the system to extract all the available raw power now. A blinding stream of pure blue light flows into my armored chest. The temperature in the ruined engine room drops to freezing cold. Frost covers the broken steel walls as the heat is drained away. The massive reactor core slowly turns dark and completely silent. My internal energy capacity reaches a completely new maximum peak. System alert. Maximum photon storage capacity has been upgraded. I step away from the dead machine and look at my glowing hands. The pure energy pulses under my skin like a second living heart. I can now control light on a much larger and destructive scale. I sense a strange new energy signature approaching from the east. A massive dark portal opens right above the ruined city square. A heavily augmented enemy general steps out of the spatial tear. His thick black armor absorbs the natural light around his body. System alert. High-tier darkness manipulation technology detected. He carries a massive blade made of pure, dark, concentrated shadow. The general points his dark weapon directly at my glowing chest. He activates a special field that devours all the local photons. The immediate area around us plunges into an unnatural twilight. The unnatural darkness tries to consume my glowing physical body. I feel a slight drop in the surrounding ambient air temperature. But true light can never be beaten by a cheap shadow trick. I increase the vibrational frequency of my internal photon core. My armor begins to shine with the intensity of a morning sun. The fake darkness burns away like thin paper in a massive fire. System alert ambient light levels restored to absolute maximum. He thinks his artificial darkness can defeat the true Light Lord. I simply stand my ground and wait for his first aggressive move. The heavy general lunges forward with amazing mechanical speed. His massive shadow blade swings directly toward my exposed neck. I do not dodge or block the incoming heavy kinetic physical hit. The dark blade passes right through my body without resistance. His heavy weapon hits the empty air and strikes the broken floor. I shifted my real physical mass into a pure photon state again. System Alert Intangibility Protocol is functioning at peak level. The confused general looks around for my real physical body form. I materialize right behind his heavy armored mechanical back. I place my glowing right hand directly onto his thick dark armor. I reverse the polarity of his artificial light absorption field. Instead of devouring light, his suit suddenly begins to emit it. A blinding flash of pure energy erupts from his dark combat suit. The general screams in pain as extreme heat melts his augments. System Alert. Enemy shadow technology is successfully overloaded. His heavy shadow blade instantly evaporates into thin, empty air. The massive mechanical warrior drops to his heavy armored knees. Thick black smoke pours out of his ruined artificial life system. I walk slowly around him and look down at his broken dark form. He reaches out with a trembling metal hand to beg for some mercy. I do not show any emotion toward these ruthless, violent killers. I raise my index finger and summon one final tiny spark of light. The beautiful little firefly hovers right in front of his visor. He stares at the glowing insect with absolute, pure, total dread. System Alert. Final execution sequence is ready for immediate use. I snap my fingers, and the tiny photon insect instantly explodes. A concentrated laser beam shoots right through his thick helmet. The perfect silent cut separates his metal head from his body. His heavy headless torso falls back onto the cracked concrete. The cut surface of his thick neck armor is perfectly smooth now. I absorb the remaining local light to clean my heavy combat suit. The dust and ash simply fall away from my pristine glowing armor. System Alert. All hostile targets in the current zone are removed. I look out over the massive destruction I caused in this city. The perfectly sliced metal pieces reflect the bright burning sun. This silent graveyard is a perfect monument to my absolute power. I turn around and walk slowly toward the distant mountain range. The true Lord of Photons still has much more work to do today. I fade back into the invisible spectrum and disappear completely. The invisible journey toward the high peaks begins right now. My heavy boots crush the dry, frozen earth without any sound. The ambient temperature drops as I climb the steep, dark rocks. Thick white snow covers the ancient, broken mountain path ahead. System Alert Elevation Tracking Protocol is fully active now. I absorb the harsh ultraviolet rays from the high winter sun. The extra solar radiation quickly fills my internal power core. I feel the pure energy flowing through my cold, stiff muscles. A massive steel gate blocks the narrow, frozen mountain valley. Heavy automated turrets track every movement in the deep snow. These primitive machines rely on very basic motion detection. I walk right past the heavy mechanical rotating weapon barrels. My physical mass does not disturb the falling white snowflakes. I bend the local light waves to erase my exact physical presence. The heavy steel gate stands 30 meters tall right before me. Thick, solid ice coats the dark metallic surface of the barrier. I place my glowing right palm against the frozen metal surface. System Alert. Thermal transfer protocol is initiating right now. The thick ice instantly turns into hot, rising white water steam. The massive steel plates melt into glowing hot liquid metal. I step through the perfectly smooth circular burning steel hole. The internal mountain base is a massive hollow rock structure. Hundreds of elite soldiers stand in perfect tight battle rows. They wear special armor covered in highly polished clear mirrors. These weak fools think simple reflection can stop the true light. I deactivate my cloaking field and reveal my real physical body. The bright glow of my armor illuminates the massive dark cavern. The entire battalion turns their heavy weapons toward my chest. System Alert. Hostile mirror technology detected in current zone. The base commander shouts a loud order across the silent hangar. Hundreds of heavy laser rifles fire at my exact current position. The concentrated red beams strike my heavy armored chest plate. I do not even try to block the incoming thermal weapon energy. The weak red lasers simply absorb into my glowing combat suit. My internal power levels spike from the sudden huge energy meal. The enemy soldiers stop firing and step back in pure total shock. They realize their heavy weapons only make my body much stronger. I raise my right hand and gather the ambient cavern light waves. The entire underground facility plunges into absolute pure black. System alert. True darkness domain successfully established here. The shiny mirrored armor becomes completely useless in the void. Perfect reflections require a primary source of active lighting. The heavy soldiers panic and crash into the thick steel walls. I hear their metallic boots slipping on the frozen stone floor. They swing their heavy rifles wildly in the pitch-black shadow. The cold mountain air echoes with their terrified human shouts. I walk among the blind fools with perfect silent stealth steps. A heavy soldier swings his metal fist right past my glowing head. The kinetic force of his heavy punch hits empty, freezing cold air. I tap the side of his polished, mirrored heavy combat helmet. The absolute zero temperature freezes his thick armor instantly. The heavy metal shatters into 1,000 tiny, cold, broken pieces. The soldier collapses onto the hard rock without a single sound. System alert threat neutralization sequence is progressing well. I need to break their defensive formation completely right now. I focus a microscopic amount of energy in my open left palm. A single tiny photon condenses into a bright, solid, glowing spark. The little beautiful firefly hovers in the massive sea of dark. The panicking soldiers freeze when they see the tiny little light. They turn their mirrored helmets toward the small floating glow. The bright spark reflects across hundreds of shiny combat suits. The dark cavern suddenly fills with a beautiful fake starry sky. They think this pretty light is a sign of sudden incoming rescue. I compress the elementary particles inside the tiny bright spark. The little firefly begins to vibrate with terrifying fast speed. System Alert Miniature Supernova Protocol is fully armed today. I release the stored kinetic energy with a single cold thought. The tiny insect explodes into a blinding wave of pure white sun. The expanding light hits the polished, mirrored, heavy armor plates. The cheap glass surfaces cannot handle the supreme extreme heat. The mirrors shatter instantly under the massive solid energy wave. The pure light slices through the heavy underlying thick steel. Hundreds of weapons fall to the floor in perfect equal halves. The kinetic shockwave throws the soldiers against the stone walls. Their ruined armor pieces scatter across the cold, broken stone. The blinding flash fades back into the normal dark cavern gloom. System alert mass threat elimination confirmed in current sector. I restore the normal ambient light to the massive ruined hangar. The defeated battalion lies motionless on the dusty ground below. The cut edges of their heavy gear are perfectly smooth and clean. I step over the silent bodies and walk deeper inside the mountain. The main command center sits at the end of the long, dark hall. Heavy blast doors protect the cowardly military leadership inside. I do not have time to melt another thick, solid steel barrier now. I manipulate the light particles to alter my physical body mass. My body becomes a stream of pure, intangible, white-flowing energy. System alert. Intangibility state is operating at maximum power. I simply walk right through the heavy, solid metal security doors. The thick steel feels like warm, liquid water against my bare skin. I materialize inside the secure underground heavy command bunker. The base general stares at me with wide, terrified human eyes now. He holds a heavy plasma pistol with shaking, weak metal hands. A massive energy shield generator protects his large wooden desk. The thick blue force field hums with high-voltage electric power. He fires a heavy plasma bolt directly at my glowing faceplate. I catch the burning blue projectile with my bare left open hand. The extreme heat feels like a gentle summer breeze to my sensors. I crush the plasma bolt into harmless, floating, tiny blue sparks. The general drops his empty weapon onto the solid metal floor. He activates the maximum power output of his glowing blue shield. System alert high-density energy barrier detected right ahead. The thick force field creates a solid wall of pure, hot plasma. He thinks this primitive technology can stop the true Light King. I walk slowly toward the humming blue defensive energy barrier. I place my glowing index finger against the active energy field. I match the exact vibrational frequency of the blue hot plasma. The massive shield instantly shatters like fragile broken glass. The kinetic backlash throws the general out of his leather chair. He crashes heavily against the dark concrete back bunker wall. The heavy impact knocks the breath out of his weak human lungs. I stand over his broken body with a cold, empty, dead expression. He tries to crawl away across the smooth, cold, solid steel floor. I step heavily onto his mechanical right leg to stop his escape. The thick metal armor crunches under my heavy, solid kinetic boot. System alert primary target is completely immobilized right now. I look at the massive central computer server in the dark room. The heavy machines hold all their strategic secret battle plans. I raise my hand and focus a tight beam of pure, white, solid light. The concentrated laser slices through the thick server racks now. The heavy machines slide apart with absolute silent, deadly grace. The cut surfaces look like perfect mirrors in the dim, dark room. All their precious data is instantly erased from this existence. The general watches his life work vanish in a single fast second. He knows his entire military campaign is completely ruined today. I leave him lying on the cold floor in total, absolute defeat now. I turn my back and walk toward the ruined, heavy bunker exit door. My work in this underground mountain facility is finished today. I shift my body back into the invisible light spectrum right now. The ambient photons bend perfectly around my physical solid form. System alert stealth camouflage is fully restored to maximum now. I step out of the dark mountain and into the bright, hot sunlight. The cold wind blows across the high, snowy, frozen mountain peaks. I look down at the massive, ruined, deep valley far below my boots. The silent destruction is a perfect testament to my great power. I prepare to travel toward the next major enemy stronghold ahead. The true Lord of Photons will erase every single shadow today. The distant horizon reveals a massive, sprawling, dry desert zone. Thick yellow sand storms block the natural solar radiation now. The enemy uses these harsh weather conditions to hide deep bases. I launch my body into the cold air with a massive kinetic burst. I fly through the freezing sky with absolute perfect precision. The cold mountain wind slowly fades into a dry, burning heat. I look down at the massive, endless ocean of moving yellow sand. Thick dust clouds block the natural solar radiation completely. System alert. Solar intake reduced by extreme weather conditions. These pathetic cowards always hide behind harsh natural elements. I bend the local photons to form a perfect thermal energy shield. The flying sand bounces off my glowing, hard physical armor. My internal sensors detect massive vibrations deep under the dunes. Heavy mechanical units are moving through the thick desert storm. 3 massive armored crawlers emerge from the moving sand hills. They look like giant steel insects covered in thick, heavy plating. System alert. Heavy subterranean combat vehicles detected below. The lead crawler aims a massive kinetic railgun at my current path. A huge, solid tungsten shell rips through the violent, dusty air. The massive projectile carries enough kinetic force to crush a tank. I do not waste my internal energy trying to block the heavy metal. I simply shift my physical mass into a pure, intangible light form. The heavy tungsten shell passes right through my glowing chest. It disappears into the distant clouds without causing any damage. I reform my solid physical body and hover above the huge machines. System alert intangibility state successfully avoided physical hit. The enemy gunners panic and reload their massive heavy weapons. I decide to test their primitive targeting sensors right now. I split my light signature into 10 perfectly identical copies. 10 glowing figures scatter across the dark, dusty desert sky. The fake projections emit the exact same thermal heat signatures. The heavy crawlers fire their massive weapons in every direction. Loud explosions echo across the empty, barren yellow wasteland. They waste their precious ammunition on completely empty air. I watch their useless panic from a high, invisible vantage point. System alert illusion matrix is functioning at absolute maximum. It is time to dismantle these ugly metal bugs completely today. I dive straight down toward the massive lead desert crawler. The heavy wind screams past my invisible falling physical body. I focus a high-density laser beam in my right armored index finger. I drag the concentrated light across the thick steel weapon barrel. The heavy railgun splits into 2 perfectly smooth, shiny pieces. The massive metal tube falls into the deep, moving yellow sand. System alert primary enemy weapon system successfully destroyed. I land heavily on the thick, flat roof of the massive steel crawler. The heavy kinetic impact dents the solid metal armor plating. I absorb all the ambient light around the three massive vehicles. The violent sandstorm plunges into an unnatural pitch-black void. System alert. True darkness domain established in the desert zone. The heavy drivers cannot see the massive dunes right ahead of them. The second crawler crashes violently into the side of the third one. Thick metal armor crunches and bends under the extreme heavy weight. Sparks fly from their ruined engines into the dark, empty void. I walk calmly across the dark roof of the lead heavy transport. I release a massive burst of pure concentrated thermal energy. The extreme heat melts the thick steel grates in a single second. System alert thermal overload applied to enemy propulsion system. The giant heavy crawler grinds to a complete and sudden halt. I restore the natural ambient light to the ruined desert zone. The three massive machines sit completely dead in the deep sand. I scan the massive dead machines for any remaining active threats. System alert. All surface targets are completely immobilized now. I detect a massive deep underground facility directly below me. The heavy crawlers were guarding the main hidden base entrance. I look down at the thick layer of shifting yellow desert sand. I need to create a stable path to the deep underground bunker. I release a continuous wide beam of pure white intense heat. The extreme temperature hits the loose, dry, yellow desert sand. The massive heat instantly melts the tiny silica particles together. The loose sand transforms into a perfect, solid, clear glass tunnel. System alert terrain modification protocol is successfully executed now. I walk down the smooth, glowing, hot glass ramp into the deep earth. The thick glass walls of the tunnel glow with residual extreme heat. The glass walls reflect the bright blue glow of my heavy armor. A massive, thick titanium blast door blocks the deep tunnel end. The heavy titanium door is heavily reinforced with solid steel beams. Heavy automated laser turrets drop from the hidden ceiling panels. They fire a massive barrage of bright green hot plasma bolts. I simply absorb the incoming thermal energy with my open hands. The raw power flows directly into my central internal photon core. System alert energy reserves restored to maximum full capacity. I compress the stolen energy into a single dense, solid light blade. I swing my glowing arm in a wide, perfect horizontal arc motion. The pure energy slices right through the heavy ceiling turrets. The ruined weapons fall to the glass floor without making a sound. I step right up to the massive, solid, thick titanium blast door. I do not want to waste time melting this huge, heavy metal barrier. I shift my atomic structure into a pure, high-frequency light wave. System alert intangibility sequence activated for barrier bypass. I walk straight through the massive, solid, heavy titanium door. The thick metal feels like a cool, gentle mist against my body. I reform my physical solid mass inside the main underground base. The base commander stands on a high steel balcony above the floor. He holds a massive heavy sonic cannon mounted on his right arm. System alert. High-frequency acoustic weapon detected in the zone. The acoustic weapons were designed to bypass standard energy shields. He fires a massive invisible wave of pure destructive sound at me. The intense sonic vibration shatters the local glass structures. The heavy kinetic force tries to crush my solid physical armor. I simply alter the physical density of my heavy glowing combat suit. The sonic wave passes harmlessly around my perfectly smooth body. The commander looks at his heavy weapon in total absolute shock. My true light power ignores all conventional physical defense systems. I raise my right hand and gather all the light in the massive room. System alert. True darkness domain expanding to structural limits. The elite soldiers panic and drop their heavy acoustic weapons. They cannot see their own hands in the perfect thick black void. I hear their heavy boots stumbling across the cold steel floor. I walk among them like a silent, invisible ghost of pure death. I focus a microscopic amount of energy above the central floor. A single tiny photon condenses into a bright, solid, glowing spark. The little beautiful firefly hovers perfectly in the heavy dark. The terrified soldiers freeze and stare at the tiny floating light. I compress the elementary particles inside the tiny glowing insect. The little firefly begins to vibrate with an impossible fast speed. System alert miniature supernova protocol is armed and ready now. I release the stored kinetic energy with a single cold, dark thought. The tiny insect explodes into a massive, blinding white solar wave. The expanding pure light hits the heavy acoustic armor plates. The special sound-dampening material melts under the supreme heat. The pure light slices through their heavy weapons instantly. The kinetic shockwave throws the soldiers against the metal walls. Hundreds of heavy acoustic rifles fall to the floor in equal halves. System alert, mass threat elimination confirmed in the hangar. I restore the normal ambient light to the massive ruined facility. The defeated elite battalion lies motionless on the cold ground. I look up at the terrified commander on the high steel balcony. He drops his heavy sonic cannon and falls to his weak human knees. The commander realizes his entire military career is completely over. I simply fade into the invisible light spectrum and disappear now. I materialize right behind his trembling, weak physical human form. I place my glowing right hand on his heavy, thick shoulder plate. The extreme freezing cold drains all the heat from his weak body. He collapses onto the cold steel floor without a single spoken word. System alert, primary base commander is successfully neutralized. I walk over to the massive main computer terminal on the balcony. I fire a precise thin laser beam into the main data storage drive. The concentrated light erases all their secret military files now. The perfect silent cut destroys the heavy metal server completely. I turn away from the massive destruction I caused in this deep base. The smooth-cut metal surfaces reflect the bright blue glowing light. This silent underground graveyard proves my absolute total power. I leave him frozen on the floor as a warning to the next enemy base. I shift my body back into a pure, intangible, fast-moving light wave. I travel straight up through the thick, heavy, solid desert earth. System alert, surface breach successful with 0 energy loss. I emerge back into the violent, massive yellow desert sandstorm. The massive desert storm continues to rage across the barren wasteland. The harsh wind tries to push my solid physical body backward. I ignore the extreme weather and look toward the distant ocean. The final enemy stronghold waits on a massive deep-water island. The true Lord of Photons will eliminate every single threat today. I launch my heavy body into the dark, dusty sky with massive force. I fly high above the massive, stormy, dark ocean waves. The violent wind pushes against my glowing, solid chest. I ignore the harsh weather and increase my flight speed. System alert. Maximum atmospheric velocity is reached now. Thick gray clouds block the natural bright solar light. I draw residual thermal energy from the deep, dark water. The distant island fortress appears on the dark horizon. Heavy naval cruisers patrol the rough, deep ocean waters. They use massive acoustic sonar to scan the dark clouds. I bend the local light waves to erase my physical form. System alert. Active stealth camouflage is fully engaged. The primitive radar systems scan the completely empty sky. These weak human fools rely on very outdated technology. The heavy ships aim their massive weapons toward the dark void. They waste all their precious heavy ammunition on an empty illusion. System alert. Enemy sensory equipment is completely bypassed and dead. I drop down toward the massive gray steel naval cruisers. The cold, heavy rain washes over my invisible combat suit. I focus a tight laser beam in my right open armored palm. I drag the hot light across the thick steel ship deck now. The massive heavy weapon turrets fall into the dark ocean. System alert, primary naval defense systems are destroyed. The ship crew panics and runs across the wet metal deck. I do not waste my time on these weak, useless foot soldiers. I fly past the ruined massive ships toward the main island. A massive glowing blue energy dome protects the whole base. The thick plasma barrier hums with extreme high voltage. I place my glowing left hand against the hot blue shield. System alert. High-density plasma field detected right now. I match the exact vibrational frequency of the blue energy. The massive dome shatters into a million tiny blue sparks. The kinetic backlash hits the tall, heavy steel guard towers. Thick metal supports bend under the massive invisible force. The heavy towers crash down into the violent dark ocean sea. I land softly on the wet, smooth, black concrete landing pad. Hundreds of elite island guards rush out of the steel doors. They wear special heavy armor designed for deep water combat. Thick glass helmets protect their weak, fragile human heads. They raise heavy harpoon rifles and aim at my glowing chest. I do not even try to dodge the massive incoming steel spikes. The heavy metal harpoons bounce off my solid energy barrier. System alert kinetic impact nullified by hard light shield. I absorb the ambient light from the massive concrete platform. The entire outdoor landing pad plunges into pure total black. System alert true darkness domain established on the surface. The heavy rain sounds like deafening thunder in the deep void. The elite Marine guards cannot see their own heavy metal hands. They fire their heavy harpoons blindly into the empty cold air. The massive steel spikes hit their own heavy armored comrades. I hear thick glass helmets shattering under the heavy impacts. I walk through the chaotic dark mess with absolute calm grace. I focus a microscopic amount of pure energy in my right hand. A single tiny photon condenses into a bright, solid, glowing spark. The little beautiful firefly hovers perfectly in the heavy dark. The terrified Marine soldiers freeze and stare at the tiny light. I compress the elementary particles inside the tiny glowing bug. The little firefly vibrates with an impossible fast speed today. System alert miniature supernova protocol is armed and ready now. I release the stored energy with a single cold, dark thought. The tiny insect explodes into a massive, blinding white solar wave. The expanding pure light hits the heavy special aquatic armor. The thick glass helmets melt instantly under the supreme heat. The pure light slices right through their heavy harpoon weapons. The kinetic shockwave throws the Marine soldiers into the ocean. Hundreds of broken metal rifles fall to the wet concrete floor. System alert mass threat elimination confirmed on the helipad. I restore the normal ambient light to the massive ruined base. The defeated Marine battalion floats in the dark, violent water. I walk toward the massive, heavy steel main facility entrance now. Thick titanium locks secure the heavy metal barrier from inside. I shift my atomic structure into a pure, high-frequency light beam. System alert intangibility sequence activated for barrier bypass. I walk straight through the massive, solid, heavy titanium door. The thick, cold metal feels like a gentle mist against my skin. I reform my physical solid mass inside the main heavy lobby now. Red emergency lights flash across the smooth, wet, cold steel floor. Loud warning sirens echo through the massive, empty metal hallways. I absorb the red light and convert it into pure, raw combat power. System alert. Internal energy reserves are operating at maximum. I detect a massive energy signature deep below the ocean surface. The central base core is located at the very bottom of the island. I step into the massive central heavy transport elevator shaft now. I simply drop my heavy physical body down the dark, empty metal tube. The rushing cold air whistles past my glowing blue heavy armor suit. I land heavily on the bottom floor with a massive kinetic shockwave. The thick steel floor plates bend and shatter under my heavy boots. I walk out of the ruined heavy elevator into a massive glass dome. The giant underwater room is surrounded by the deep, dark, cold ocean. Huge aquatic predators swim past the thick, transparent glass walls. The base commander operates a massive, heavy mechanical combat suit. The giant steel machine holds 2 heavy rotary hot plasma cannons. System alert extreme threat level detected in the current sector. He aims the massive heavy weapons directly at my glowing faceplate. I do not show any fear in my cold, empty, dead physical expression. He fires a continuous massive stream of bright hot blue plasma fire. The extreme heat tries to melt my solid physical glowing blue armor. I project a hard light shield from my open right heavy armored palm. The hot blue plasma splashes harmlessly against my pure solid energy. System alert. Thermal defense barrier is holding at absolute peak. I walk slowly toward the massive heavy mechanical combat machine now. The commander panics and increases the heavy plasma weapon output. The massive rotary cannons overheat from the extreme combat stress. I drop my hard light shield and shift into a pure, intangible form. The remaining blue plasma fire passes right through my empty chest. I reform my solid physical body right beside the giant heavy machine. I place both glowing hands on the thick, heavy steel mechanical legs. I convert my thermal energy into a massive, freezing cold shockwave. System alert. Absolute Zero protocol is successfully executed today. The thick, heavy steel legs freeze solid in a single fast second now. The massive, heavy combat machine cannot move its huge frozen joints. I strike the frozen heavy metal with a massive solid kinetic punch. The thick frozen steel armor shatters into tiny cold broken pieces. The massive machine collapses onto the smooth heavy glass room floor. The weak commander falls out of the ruined heavy metal cockpit now. He crawls backward across the cold heavy glass floor in pure terror. I look down at his pathetic, trembling, weak human physical body now. System alert. Primary target is completely immobilized and defeated. The commander hits a hidden red emergency button on his heavy belt. Heavy steel shutters begin to close over the thick, clear glass walls. He wants to trap me inside this deep, dark, underwater heavy prison now. I raise my hand and focus a dense beam of pure white solid light now. The concentrated laser slices through the falling heavy steel plates. The ruined metal shutters crash onto the thick glass room floor now. System alert. Structural integrity of the current zone is failing now. High-pressure ocean water begins to leak through the tiny new cracks. The deep ocean pressure threatens to crush this massive glass room. I need to secure the main central data core before the massive flood. I walk past the terrified commander toward the central heavy server. The massive machine holds the final coordinates of their main leader. I place my glowing left hand against the thick, heavy steel data case. I extract all the digital data using pure, raw, fast light wave pulses. System alert. Critical enemy intelligence successfully downloaded now. I melt the massive computer into a useless pool of hot liquid metal. The thick glass walls break under the massive extreme ocean pressure. Millions of gallons of cold water rush into the massive ruined room. The kinetic force of the massive dark flood sweeps the weak man away. He disappears into the violent, swirling, dark, freezing cold seawater. System alert. Total structural collapse detected in the current zone. I do not need to breathe like these primitive, weak human fools today. I alter my physical density to match the massive deep ocean pressure. The violent, swirling water feels calm against my glowing heavy armor. I float inside the dark underwater ruins of the massive ruined base. I gather all the remaining ambient light in the deep, dark ocean zone. My solid body begins to glow with the extreme power of a massive sun. System alert. Maximum photon emission sequence is fully activated now. I release a massive spherical wave of pure, solid, destructive light. The extreme heat instantly boils the freezing cold, dark ocean water. A massive sphere of empty, dry space forms at the bottom of the ocean. The pure light wave vaporizes the remaining heavy metal base ruins. Everything in the massive wide radius is completely erased into dust. System alert. Absolute total area annihilation is confirmed right now. The massive empty space collapses back into the heavy dark ocean sea. I propel my solid physical body straight up toward the ocean surface. I break through the dark violent ocean waves like a fast solid beam. The cold rain continues to fall from the massive thick dark sky above. I process the new digital coordinates inside my internal memory core. System alert. Final enemy stronghold location is perfectly verified. The ultimate leader of this pathetic, weak rebellion hides in space. They built a massive orbital space station high above the green world. They think the absolute vacuum of deep space can stop my true light. I bend the local photons to create a massive solid flight shield now. I convert my internal thermal energy into massive pure kinetic force. System alert. Orbital trajectory sequence is successfully initiated. I launch my heavy physical body into the massive dark stormy sky now. I push my glowing physical body through the thick gray clouds. The extreme atmospheric friction generates massive pure heat. I absorb the wild thermal energy into my central photon core. System alert. Atmospheric exit velocity is perfectly maintained. The dark stormy sky slowly fades into a pure deep black void. I leave the natural gravity well of the weak green planet now. Absolute cold silence surrounds my solid, glowing, heavy armor. The infinite vacuum of deep space offers zero physical resistance. I scan the dark, massive orbital sector for the hidden target. A massive, heavy steel space station floats in the dark orbit. Hundreds of heavy automated defense satellites guard the base. They detect my bright thermal signature in the cold, dark void. System alert. Multiple orbital defense locks are detected now. The massive heavy satellites align their thick laser cannons. They fire a massive grid of bright red destructive energy beams. I do not waste energy dodging the primitive heavy laser grid. I simply shift my physical mass into a pure, intangible state. The massive red laser beams pass right through my empty chest. They fade into the endless, dark, cold vacuum of deep space now. System Alert Intangibility Protocol avoided all incoming damage. I reform my solid physical body right above the defense grid. I gather the raw, unfiltered solar radiation from the distant sun. The massive stellar energy flows directly into my heavy armor. I project a massive wide wave of perfect, absolute, pure light. The extreme heat melts the thick steel satellite armor plates. Hundreds of heavy defense machines turn into hot liquid metal. The ruined molten slag floats harmlessly in the zero gravity. System alert. Outer orbital defense grid is totally destroyed. I fly toward the massive central heavy steel space station now. A thick, glowing yellow plasma shield surrounds the entire base. The extreme high-voltage energy blocks all physical entry paths. I place my glowing right hand against the thick yellow barrier. I match the exact atomic frequency of the heavy plasma shield. The massive energy dome shatters into a million yellow sparks. System Alert Primary Station Energy Shield is completely disabled. I land softly on the massive, thick steel outer station hull. My heavy magnetic boots lock onto the cold, dark metal surface. I focus a dense laser beam in my right open, heavy armored palm. I drag the concentrated pure light across the thick steel hull. The massive heavy metal plates separate with a perfect clean cut. I rip the ruined steel doors open with pure brute kinetic force. The violent decompression sucks the internal air into deep space. I step inside the massive dark zero-gravity heavy steel corridor. System alert. Internal artificial gravity is completely offline now. Red emergency lights flash across the smooth, cold metal walls. I absorb the red light and plunge the hallway into total black. System alert true darkness domain established in the current zone. I float down the dark, empty corridor like a silent, invisible ghost. Dozens of elite space guards rush toward the main breached hull. They wear heavy, thick, white zero-gravity mechanical combat suits. Thick, heavy glass visors protect their weak, fragile human faces. They carry massive, heavy plasma rifles with wide energy barrels. They cannot see anything in the perfect, thick, artificial dark void. They float blindly through the massive, ruined, cold steel hallway. I watch their pathetic, useless panic from the high, dark ceiling. I focus a microscopic amount of energy in my right open hand. A single tiny photon condenses into a bright, solid, glowing spark. The little beautiful firefly floats perfectly in the heavy dark. The terrified space guards freeze and stare at the tiny light. I compress the elementary particles inside the tiny glowing bug. The little firefly vibrates with an impossible fast speed today. System Alert Miniature Supernova Protocol is armed and ready now. I release the stored kinetic energy with a single cold, dark thought. The tiny insect explodes into a massive, blinding white solar wave. The expanding pure light hits the heavy white zero-gravity suits. The thick glass visors melt instantly under the supreme pure heat. The pure light slices right through their heavy plasma weapons. The massive kinetic shockwave throws the guards against the wall. Dozens of ruined heavy metal rifles float in the empty dark air. System alert mass threat elimination confirmed in the outer sector. I restore the normal ambient light to the massive ruined hallway. The defeated elite space battalion floats completely motionless now. I push my solid physical body off the cold, heavy steel ceiling. I glide smoothly toward the massive central heavy command bridge. Thick titanium blast doors block the main heavy central entrance. I shift my atomic structure into a pure, high-frequency light beam. System alert intangibility sequence activated for barrier bypass. I float straight through the massive, solid, heavy titanium doors. The thick, cold metal feels like a gentle mist against my body. I reform my physical solid mass inside the massive command room. The huge room features a massive, clear glass orbital viewing window. The weak green planet slowly rotates in the deep, dark background. The ultimate rebellion leader sits in a massive, heavy steel chair. He wears a thick, heavy golden mechanical combat exoskeleton suit. He holds a massive, heavy dark matter cannon in his right hand. System alert extreme exotic energy weapon detected in the zone. The dark matter weapon can erase pure solid physical energy. He aims the massive heavy cannon directly at my glowing faceplate. I do not show any fear in my cold, empty, dead physical expression. He fires a massive, continuous stream of destructive black energy. The dark matter tries to consume my solid physical glowing armor. I immediately alter the physical density of my heavy combat suit. I shift my entire existence into the pure, invisible light spectrum. The massive black energy passes harmlessly around my empty form. System alert. Exotic weapon impact successfully completely nullified. The leader looks at his heavy dark weapon in total pure shock. My true light power ignores all conventional exotic defense systems. I reform my solid physical body right beside his heavy gold chair. I place my glowing right hand on his thick, heavy mechanical weapon. I convert my thermal energy into a massive, freezing, cold shockwave. System alert. Absolute Zero protocol is successfully executed today. The massive, heavy dark matter cannon freezes solid in 1 second. I strike the frozen heavy metal with a massive, solid kinetic punch. The thick, frozen weapon shatters into tiny, cold, broken pieces. The leader falls out of his massive, heavy, golden mechanical chair. He floats backward across the cold, heavy glass room in pure terror. I look down at his pathetic, trembling, weak human physical body now. System alert primary target is completely immobilized and defeated. He hits a hidden red emergency button on his heavy golden belt. The massive station core begins to overload with extreme raw power. He wants to destroy this massive orbital base with me inside. I walk calmly toward the massive main central computer terminal. I place my glowing left hand against the thick, heavy steel data case. I extract all the digital data using pure, raw, fast light wave pulses. System alert final enemy intelligence successfully downloaded now. I melt the massive computer into a useless pool of hot liquid metal. The entire massive space station shakes with extreme violent force. The heavy steel walls begin to crack under the massive core pressure. I do not need to escape this massive, dying, heavy steel structure. I gather all the remaining ambient light in the massive command room. My solid body begins to glow with the extreme power of a massive sun. System alert. Maximum photon emission sequence is fully activated now. I release a massive spherical wave of pure, solid, destructive light. The extreme heat instantly vaporizes the massive, heavy golden chair. The expanding pure light hits the massive central core reactor. The massive, heavy space station detonates in a silent flash. A massive sphere of pure, bright energy expands into the dark void. The pure light wave vaporizes the massive, heavy metal base ruins. Everything in the massive, wide radius is completely erased into dust. System alert. Absolute total area annihilation is confirmed right now. The massive, bright explosion fades back into the cold, dark vacuum. I float alone in the silent, endless, dark, heavy void of deep space. The weak human rebellion is completely erased from this universe. I project a massive, hard light shield around my solid physical body. I turn my glowing, heavy helmet toward the distant, weak green planet. The true Lord of Photons holds absolute total power over this world. I alter my physical density to prepare for massive atmospheric re-entry. I launch my heavy physical body toward the green planet right now. System alert global domination protocol is successfully initiated now. The massive green world spins slowly in the endless, cold, dark void. I calculate the exact atmospheric entry angle for my heavy body. The extreme friction will generate massive amounts of thermal energy. I plan to absorb all the natural heat to recharge my internal core. System alert optimal descent trajectory is successfully calculated now. I fold my glowing arms across my massive, heavy, solid physical chest. I close my cold, empty eyes and enjoy the absolute perfect silence. The true Lord of Photons does not need a massive, heavy army today. I totally destroyed their entire global military operation today. I will return to the surface and build my own perfect light empire. Nobody will ever challenge my absolute supreme authority again. System alert final combat mission is successfully completed today.
This video and everything in it are completely fictional and original creations by the author. The story is made only for storytelling and entertainment inside a fictional universe. It isn't meant to encourage violence, dangerous actions, or harmful behavior, and nothing in this video should be copied in real life. All characters shown in this work are fictional and are presented as 18 years old or older. This content is made only for entertainment and isn't intended to offend, attack, or harm any person, group, or organization. This channel is more than just entertainment. It's made to share deep ideas, powerful meanings, and valuable insights through stories that make you think and feel in a new way.